What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about SoundHound. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down what's really moving it, and go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoundHound is down 1.68%, 971 the low, 1015 the high. Somewhat low volume, so 13.1 million shares being traded, 31.8 is the average. And that's been more of a common kind of situation for SoundHound, just very low volume. And that's just because of no substantial catalysts. So there hasn't been all that much in news from SoundHound. Even on social media, they haven't really been doing all that much. So they posted this 2 hours ago, but ultimately this was, I think it was either Thursday or Friday's news. So again, they're not really giving investors a crazy good catalyst to go out and buy, and this is why you have lower volume. So it's kind of just piggybacking off the broader market. The market is digesting quite a few things today. So you have increased tariff kind of fears between China and the States. You have also the market digesting what came out after hours on Friday associated to the steel tariffs. So that was jumping from 25 to 50%. Then you also did have this right here. So manufacturing data came in lower than anticipated. So forecast was 49, came in at 48.5. So definitely not a good scenario. So a lot of this did cause pretty much a lot of the disruption in the broader market, although you are starting to see a nice recovery right now. And that's because Trump just pretty much gave a ultimatum to the broader market. So basically, the Trump administration wants countries to provide their best offer on trade negotiations by Wednesday as officials seek to accelerate talks with multiple partners ahead of self-imposed deadlines in the 5 weeks, according to the draft letter to negotiating partners. So yeah, honestly, this is crazy. So we should be seeing some pretty good catalysts, some countries giving in and obviously giving some pretty good deals to the states. So that could really boost the broader market, at least in the short term. So again, that's kind of a good thing on a macro standpoint, but I think SoundHound really does need to put out some good news. They did try to hide one thing though. So I didn't do a SoundHound video over the weekend. So my last one was, I think, midway through Friday or something like that. And so they did put out a 8K. And one thing that I've kind of been complaining about is that they haven't actually given the results of the shareholder meeting that happened several weeks back. It should have actually been very fast, but they did put it out after hours on Friday. Any company, not even SoundHound, any company out there putting stuff after hours on a Friday is doing it on purpose to hide the damage. And so one thing that I did really bring up, and I might have overdone it a little bit because I'm sure there are some other motives why the company is doing it, but SoundHound did state that they wanted to change right here. So proposal number 6, they wanted to be a Delaware general corporate under the general corporate law, so Delaware company. And based on this, it was actually approved. So this was a huge red flag that I saw because in my experience, of course, it might not be all extensive, but in my experience, any company wanting to switch to be a Delaware corporation, that does mean that they want to do that because they don't need any more shareholder approval on raising authorized share count to dilute. They don't need any approval on reverse stock splits. They are pretty much self-sufficient. Again, they might be not doing it for that purpose. They might be doing it to avoid lawsuits because we've seen tons and tons of news going against them for various actions. And obviously being a Delaware corporation, it kind of helps them against lawsuits. But still, this one was a huge red flag. And I even mentioned that, hey, I was going to tone it down on my videos because of this. I see this as a red flag. So at the end of the day, I really like SoundHound. I love what they're doing. There's a huge amount of growth in their future, and even probably more so if they expand a little bit more. But nonetheless, this being approved means that you really, really need to trust them, because if things don't go according to plan, or let's say they want to do some M&A down the future, they don't need any approval. They can just submit anything, dilute, and if they kind of reach their cap, they can raise the authorized share count. If things go very bad in the foreseeable future down the line and gets close to that $1 mark and they have to do a reverse stock split, guess what? They don't need any vote. They don't need to do anything. They can actually just do it. So that's why I do not like this. Because like I said, in my experience, most of the companies they don't have trustworthy management. This one, again, you really have to trust them. So just wanted to kind of bring this up. So they did submit it after hours on Friday. So like I said, I feel like they themselves know that this is a red flag and this is why they were trying to hide it. But I could be wrong. Under this channel, I'm not here to hype you up. I'm not here to bring you down. I still, like I said, bring up the company, but at the same time, I'm not going to ignore any negatives. So I bring up the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I do see this as a little bit more of a negative side. So let me know your viewpoint on that. When it comes down to shorts, they are increasing 705,000 shares. 31.65% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 115.55 million shares overall are being shorted. So definitely is interesting to see shorts increasing on this red day, given what just came up from Trump. I would logically assume shorts would start to mitigate some of their risk and start to return. So I think over the next couple of days, that could really help. We also have a lot of big data points such as JOLT numbers coming out tomorrow and so forth. So a lot of that could move the market. Looking at options, 2.1 million in calls, 432,000 in puts, 48% of all the options being done today so far are bullish in nature. So that's generally good. So people might not necessarily be buying the dip based on the kind of lower volume, but they are buying the dip and being optimistic through options. So that's, again, a good thing. Based on the bulls, you are seeing a consensus for it to be above $11 this week. So that's a pretty good return, at least in one day or at least 1 week. The bears are anticipating for it to be sub $9. So basically where it's at now, kind of key pivot. So something to kind of keep in mind. These are all the transactions occurring on the secondary market above $100,000. So you have a string of buying right here, one sell for ultimately $109,000. So good to see big money really buying it up. So majority of the volume is actually coming from algorithmic trading and as well as shorts through the dark pool, of course. But right now with at 995, it is trading between this pivot and this S1. So 985 is going to be a strong support. So just watch for that. Flip side, 1052 is going to be the next strong target size resistance. No new analyst ratings or anything along those lines. So last one was very good. So 6 days ago, $12 buy rating. That was Piper Sandler. No new articles really coming out. So like I said at the beginning, it is ultimately just reacting to the broader market. So let me know your viewpoint on that. A couple of key points to watch for on the actual chart. You do have that 200-day moving average at 962, which wasn't touched today. You have the ALMA at 1049. Then you also have that 100-day moving average at 1086. So based on what Trump did state, and possibly good jolt numbers tomorrow, that could be what SoundHound needs to have a nice reversal. So push higher, get above that ALMA, most likely tomorrow, again, if everything goes according to plan. And then ultimately, the real test will be that 100-day moving average. If it is able to break it above and stay above that for 2 consecutive days, this is where you could see a further break higher to at least that $15 range. That's going to be the next kind of struggle point. But all in all, I think SoundHound has been really beaten down over the last little bit. Like I said, there obviously is some deficiencies with the company, just lack of really pushing themselves in marketing, but their sector, I think, is just going to grow naturally, and so SoundHound will be able to piggyback off that. And if management finally does learn and let's say hire some really ambitious executives, then you could see like this stock price just absolutely explode. So let me know your thoughts on SoundHound. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. What's your viewpoint on SoundHound? What's your thoughts, for instance, on what I mentioned about this? So the 8K being submitted after hours Friday. Do you think that this is something to worry about? Do you even care? I know last time I brought this up, some people was like, it is what it is. Some people are like, yep, this is end all be all. So I feel like there is a divide, and maybe some people just generally don't know about this, or maybe I'm just overthinking. I don't know. Again, you do whatever floats your boat and all the other fun jazz. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon and give buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. So definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.